All right, today I'm going to review Human and Machine: Reimagining Work in the Age of AI by Paul R. Daugherty and H. James Wilson. So this is a very short business book, and it's terrible. I mean, it has less information than almost any other book I've read. Even for cheap, quick read business books, this is a pretty terrible book in my opinion. Really, this book is just using a series of tricks to stretch the thinnest amount of commentary or insight, I guess you could call it insight, into a full length book. And by full length, I mean roughly 200 pages, 214 pages. And you can see here, there's very big margins on the side here. And the spacing looks a little wide for an adult book. So I think they were really forcing it to try to make this a full-size book, and it really shows when you read it. But let me just tell you a little bit about the book. The book's basic premise is that there is a missing middle in automation. So we have fully automated stuff, and then we have, fully human things where there's no automated tasks within the manufacturing process or whatever business process it is. What this book is saying is that we need to be focusing on how humans and machines can work together, and that's really the future. And that's such a thin point to make. I mean, there's almost no insight there, because if you just change machine to tool, which machine's just another term for a tool, AI is just another term for a tool. Like tool is like the category of thing, and machines and AI, and those are just types of tools. But if you tried to write a book saying that humans should work with tools, everyone would think you're an idiot, because that's obvious, that's common sense, that's what tools are. And so you can see, just by making a slight change to the premise of the book, the whole point of the book just kind of falls apart. And I'll tell you more about all their tricks in a minute, but I think you can already see that that is an extremely thin amount of insight to try to base a book on. But they did it, and let me tell you how. So there are a number of tricks I've noticed over the years that a lot of business books use to try to make what they're saying sound smart, or to stretch material, for whatever reason. But a lot of these books do very similar things. So I got a list over here. I might refer to it. So the first thing that every business book does is they all use like techno babble or business babble instead of really plain English. And they use it to kind of spice up the language to make what they're saying sound smart. But really, if you broke it down into common English, common language, then it would sound very common sense or stupid. But if you just put a bunch of complicated terms and use them in the right way, you can really dress up a point to make it look much more insightful than it really is. The second thing all these books do is they all start coining their own terms. They make up words and they hope they're going to become business buzzwords, but really they're just unnecessary and just used for marketing purposes. And it really just takes the content of the book further from reality, which I think they're all trying to do, because reality is an enemy in these books, because reality and common sense get you pretty far in life. And they're trying to repurpose that and sell it as business insight. And so they use complex terms in their own words, and then they try to lift the material up into something more lofty than what it really is. And this book is full of stuff like that. There's so many unnecessary descriptions and overly technical wording. There's a lot of made-up words and terminologies and definitions of words. And they refer back to these made-up words at every chance they get. And it's really over the top in this book and pretty annoying. So that's how they take a relatively common sense, simple idea and kind of elevate it into a business concept. But then they have to take that concept and stretch it into an entire book. And there's only a few ways that they can really do that. First, like I already mentioned, they use a little larger font than necessary, bigger margins on the pages than necessary, a little bit more spacing than is absolutely necessary. You can definitely tell that they're using some old college tricks to try to stretch the material. But on top of that, they use unnecessary examples all the time. Just examples that don't add anything to the story, but they distract you for a moment, and they add a page and a half or a half a page, and they just refer back to these, and really they just, you take a simple concept, you just throw a couple examples after every little sub point, and you can take something that would be half a page to a page and stretch it into 8 or 9 pages. And then what this book does was they'll throw on another 2-page summary at the end of that 10 pages, so that they take something that was really should have been half a page to a page, and now suddenly it's a 12-page chapter in their book. But that's just writing. They also use lists, a lot of bullet point lists and tables and unnecessary asides to just thin out their material until it can take up all the space of a book. But I need to show you the beginning of this book so you can have any idea of how blatant they are about stretching nothing into a book. I mean, it's really incredible. All right, so let me find here. It's right in the beginning. All right, so here we go. It says part 1 of the book. So this is at the very beginning of the book. It's like part 1, chapter 1. All right, so we got chapter 1 here. You flip one page, and that's a respectable amount of writing. You know, it's a book; it should have some writing. But then you get to the next page, and what's this over here? It's an aside, and this aside is a list of like 1 or 2 sentence examples about how factories are using AI. And I mean, there's absolutely nothing there, but it takes up an entire page. And so you think, maybe it's done, right? Maybe they're just introducing a couple examples and then they're going to move on. Then you flip to the next page, and there's another aside that takes up almost an entire page. And this aside is just about some unnecessary history of AI that really adds nothing to their point or their idea. It's just filler material. But it gets worse. All right, we're not done. It's 2 pages in a row. Then you flip to the next page, and there's another aside with another example in it. And then you'll notice at the bottom here, it's a bullet point. Right? It's a list. They start a list. And it's still not done. You might think that they're done using tricks to fill pages, but then we flip the page here, and what do we find? There's an aside with a list of examples within their list. I mean, there's nothing here. This book is just like this the whole way through. And then finally, maybe I think after this, nope, you got another aside again. I mean, still, they don't have enough content here. And then, then we get a couple pages finally with writing on them. But, I mean, that's how blatant this book is at just, I mean, they're using every trick that they have to try to stretch nothing into this book. So definitely, I'm not going to recommend this book. I think you should probably have realized that by now. I think this is a pretty useless book. It's very obvious that they didn't put hardly any effort into it or really have any insights. I think they're just trying to capitalize on the trend of AI. They did get the Harvard Business Review Press, which is a pretty respectable company to print the book. And then they have a bunch of very famous people on the back here. They have the CEO of Microsoft. They have Eric Brynjolfsson, who also writes books, business books about AI, which I've reviewed a couple of his. His are not as bad. He puts more work into stretching nothing into material. Or he has a little insight, but he uses a lot of examples as well. Then you have Ariana Huffington, and then let's see here, a couple professors, Mark Bainoff, the CEO of Salesforce, and Salesforce is one of the examples in the book, so that's a little conflict of interest that you have someone on the back of the book reviewing the book whose company is highlighted within that book quite a bit. And then the CEO of Walmart, who is also, or Walmart is in this book some. So I think there's a lot of just tapping alumni at Harvard or other Ivy League schools, and or just CEOs, willing to make a plug for their company. But this is not a good book. Definitely don't pick it up. It has good reviews on Amazon. I think it's like 5 stars, but it's definitely not worth 5 stars. It's not worth anything. I mean, you could summarize the whole point of this book in like a paragraph. It's humans should work with their tools. And if you ever try to pass that off as insightful in any college course or even a high school course, your professor is likely to tell you that you're stupid and that you need to try harder in their class. So it's really, it's embarrassing almost that they would put this book out there like it's some kind of insightful business book. And I think everyone involved should be kind of disappointed with themselves. This book is not good. It is so blatant in its trickery. So definitely don't pick it up. But I do hope you enjoyed this review. I have more reviews coming soon. I've got a lot more books to review, so like the video, subscribe, and stick around, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.